Hi, boys and girls. Hi, it's Mrs. Risser again. I teach reading at West Noble Primary, and I love balloon animals, and I love making balloon animals. And so I thought maybe we could call this Balloon Fun with Mrs. Risser. Oh, except I like reading too. So we could call it Reading Fun with Mrs. Risser. But maybe we should just call it Reading and Balloon Fun with Mrs. Risser. So last video, I was telling you how I learned how to do balloon animals. Does anybody remember how I learned? Because I said my mom didn't teach me and I didn't learn balloon animals at school. I learned from reading books. And I love to read books, and so I was so excited to learn how to make balloon animals just from reading books. So there are so many great things that we can learn from books, and I hope you're reading and practicing. I'm practicing balloon animals, as you can see, and so I'm so excited that I have a good reason to practice balloon animals. In fact, I have one that I want to show you today because I've been practicing, because I get better and better the more that I practice things. Just like with reading too, the more that I practice reading, the better reader that I become. And so I'm trying to do both things. I'm doing balloon animals. Now, as I make this, you'll have to watch carefully and see if you can figure out what this is. And you're going to notice I'm just doing a very short balloon again today. Okay? So here's a little head. And we have to make ears. This one might look a little bit like one that I did the other day. Does that look familiar? We did a rocket mouse the other day. Okay, so this one's not done, but since we have a rocket mouse here, look, there he goes. I said how reading is kind of like the rocket mouse because reading helps us soar and we learn so many things and we can go so many places. In reading, just by reading books, it's almost like you're going somewhere else just by learning about something else. But I'm going to take this rocket mouse and change him a little bit. And look, now if I add, so I have a head and some big ears and a neck. Here's his front legs and a body. And now I am almost done here. Oh, there we go. And there, now I have a tiny little mouse. So I could take the bigger rocket mouse and keep twisting and make it into a little mouse. I like him. Oops, there he goes. We'll put him right over there. Now, I have been practicing balloon animals, but I'm also practicing reading. I have been reading a lot lately, not just a little bit of books. I've been reading a lot, and I have a lot of books at home, and so my goal is I want to read all of my books at home, not just some of them. Maybe I could read all of them. And some of these books, I love them so much that I don't just read them one time. I might read it a second time or a third time or a fourth time because they're such great books, because you can just keep reading the same books again and again too. And that's good practice. There's nothing wrong with that. I'm wondering how many books you have at home, because this is a little bit tricky. We can't get into the library right now, and the library is a great place to find books. I was thinking that another place that you could find some more books, if you need more books to read, is online. So you can always read books online, or they read books to you too. So that would be another great idea. This also reminds me of my own family. I was telling you how I have two kids. I have Chelsea and Nick. Hey, Chelsea and Nick, love you. And when they were younger, we did a lot of writing. Chelsea and Nick are authors, and they wrote their own books, and they had such great stories. They were sometimes the most fun stories, and then we would sit together and we would read their books. And we would laugh and laugh. Nick had this great story about a king named Crookagaka, and he was not a very nice king, but it was a great story, and we would just read about Crookagaka. And Chelsea would say, let's read about Crookagaka again. And then we'd have to read about Crookagaka again and again, and we would just laugh and laugh. I wanted to show you some of the books that they were writing, just to give you some ideas of what you can do to add to your own library by being an author. We sometimes did books on the computer, and so this one says Sick Me by Chelsea Risser. So she wrote one on the computer. Sometimes we just took paper and just stapled it at the side, and this one was called Tia. Tia was our dog. Tia and the Dark Bunny by Nick Risser. So Nick drew the illustrations for this, and he wrote this story all by himself. Maybe I helped a tiny bit, but Nick wrote a lot of this one himself too, because moms and dads can help a little bit. This one is The Sunny Day by Nick, and so Nick did one on the computer. We had journals when Chelsea and Nick were little, and they each had one. It was like a diary, and at nighttime we would write about what we did during the day, and then they would draw pictures to go with it. I bought some blank books, and I bought them at the teaching store, but I know they have them online too, where inside Chelsea and Nick, they drew their own pictures and wrote their own book, and it just says by Chelsea. So this one, those were both by the kids. Nick wrote another book where he just did lined paper, and he didn't even draw pictures this time. He just had so much to write in his story, but such a great story. Here Chelsea did a lot of pictures. She got pictures out of magazines and then added in her own text to it and added in the words. This one is very pretty. It says My Dog the Scaredy Cat by Nick Risser, and Nick did a lot of color in this one and used crayons to make it very beautiful. You also could just use a notebook. That would work for a story, and so Nick was writing in here about things that he wanted to. And then this one is called Nick's Storybook. Chelsea took an idea from another book and wrote I Love You As Much As by Chelsea Risser and illustrated by Chelsea. So you could get an idea from another book. This, I have one more to show you. This is one that Chelsea did when she was a little bit older, but you could do it too. She took a book that we really were ready to recycle. It wasn't a book that we needed to keep, and I didn't think other people were really going to want it anymore either. And so sometimes we recycle books. Well, instead, Chelsea reused it, and she put her own pages on top of a book. And so she filled up this whole book with her own drawings and her own writing, and it's just a beautiful book. This is one of my favorite books that we have. Never take a book and do this unless you have mom and dad that say that you're allowed to, because I told her here, this is a good book that you could have and draw your own book and make it into yours. So that's what we did with that one. Being a writer helps you become a good reader too. So this is a great way for you to practice and become a better reader by working on your writing. When you're doing writing, you're learning how to spell more words, and so keep learning more words and how to spell them correctly. You're also stretching out words and listening for the sounds in that word, and so it's important that you do that and not just say, Mom and Dad, how do I spell this? But you do your own writing work by stretching those words slowly and listening for the sounds, and write down what you hear. What do you think? And then maybe some of the words, Mom and Dad can help you that, oh yeah, let's practice this word. You don't have to spell every word perfect, but keep learning some of them so that you're spelling things correctly too. You're also needing to do in your writing where you keep rereading it and making sure, did it sound right? Does it look right? Does it make sense what I wrote? Is that really how I want to write this, so that you can fix it and make it even better in your writing? That's what good writers do, and that helps you to become a good reader. So I really wanted you to think about that as you're reading at home, that you have your own books and that you can read them more and more. Read a lot of books. You can read online, but you also can write your own books and become a better and better writer, and that your books can go right into your library at home and put them right on the bookshelf with all of the other books so that you can read them together as a family. Maybe even mom and dad will help write books. You can write your family stories. We have so many things to tell and so many great stories that we can write about, and then they are so fun to read together as a family. So keep reading and read a lot, write and write a lot and add those into your library, and keep doing all of those things, and don't just do a tiny bit, but do a lot of reading and a lot of writing, and it is so fun. And that way you can keep learning, and you can keep practicing. Just like I keep practicing balloon animals, we have to keep practicing things to get better and better. And I have one more balloon animal that I want to show you that I learned from reading my balloon animal books. And this is one of my favorite ones, and I really learned it from Nick, because he and I liked to do this, or we liked it. So, see if you can figure out what I am making. I don't know. Oh, it's kind of squeaky there, isn't it? But that's kind of what balloon animals are like. They're kind of squeaky. Now, this one has a big mouth, okay? So think about, and you're right, it's an animal. This one is going to be an animal again. So think about, what animal has a big mouth and big teeth maybe? So it's sort of like this. Here's his mouth and there's his two eyes. Let's get a little neck here. Are you thinking, because it's not a dog, even though dogs do have a big mouth and big teeth, but no, and it's not a bear either, no. Now, I need to put a little bubble right here. Boy, I hope this doesn't pop. Shoo, so far so good. It's not a tiger. Tigers do have good teeth, so big teeth, so that would be a good guess too, but it is not a tiger. Anybody thinking of what it could be? Did somebody say maybe a dinosaur? It is going to be a dinosaur. Do you know what kind of a dinosaur this is? This dinosaur has the little teeny arms, but it has some claws down here and a big mouth and big teeth, and the tail is like this. Does that look a little bit like a T-Rex? That's one of my favorite balloon animals to make. And Nick and I used to love to read books about dinosaurs, and so when I was buying balloon animal books, I had to buy this on dinosaur balloons. That way I could make some balloons that look like dinosaurs too, and this is one of my favorite ones. So keep reading, have fun, keep practicing so that you get better and better at your reading, and I'm going to keep making balloon animals. So I'll see you next time.